As mentioned in our introduction video for this week, we will be exploring music's role within the liturgy of the Word. In this first video of content, we will encounter the overall structure of the liturgy of the Word, along with some brief comments on how Scripture is allocated for each Sunday's celebration by the Church. Here we see an overall structure for the liturgy of the Word. Please note that the elements that can use music are marked with 1 asterisk, while those that require musical expression are delineated with 2 asterisks. This may not seem like an extensive piece of the liturgy based off the visual appearance of this list, but in fact the movement through the identified readings partnered with the rhythm and passage of the liturgical year retell the story of our salvation through Jesus Christ. Through these readings, the mystery of God's promise of redemption and salvation is opened for all, especially within the gospel, where we are invited to hear the voice of Jesus Christ himself. This is why only a priest or deacon may proclaim the gospel. Before we move on, there are 2 important things to note about the overall structure of the liturgy of the Word. First, this part of the overall experience of Mass is not a group reading exercise or a prelude to the liturgy of the Eucharist. Instead, the liturgy of the Word is a dramatic event where the people of God are invited to experience the living Word. The second key idea is connected to the first in the realization of the Church's relationship with the Bible. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, or the USCCB, has said, "It is important for every Catholic to realize that the Church produced the New Testament, not vice versa. The Bible, then, is the Church's book. The New Testament did not come before the Church, but from the Church." Aside from the Easter season, the readings will generally follow the pattern that you see here. The first reading will be drawn from a prophet within the Old Testament. This is not only representative to us of God's relationship with humanity throughout the generations, but also of the human reality of the prophets. Often we can find comfort and connection for and with our own lives in the faith experiences of the ancestors of the Church. The responsorial psalm is often drawn from the Book of Psalms, although there are a few canticles, which are texts that are sung but are not part of the Book of Psalms, that occur throughout the lectionary cycle. Part 2 this week will be dedicated entirely to the responsorial psalm and how to select a successful setting. The second reading is often a selection from a Pauline epistle, or another letter shared with a faith community after the Christ event. These letters are written either by St. Paul or by another apostle of Jesus. Finally, the Gospel is a reading directly about the life and teaching of Jesus Christ. We as Catholics follow a 3-year lectionary cycle that moves amidst the Synoptic Gospels. Year A is drawn from the Gospel of Matthew, Year B from Mark, with some John included during ordinary time, and Year C from the Gospel according to St. Luke. Why are these 3 and not St. John included? Because Matthew, Mark, and Luke all write from a similar perspective. Some events may be shared differently between the accounts, and some parables may be included in one and not the others, depending upon what truth of Christ the author wished to emphasize. But for the most part, they all contain similar stories along a similar sequence of events, telling the story of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. Thank you for listening. Again, our content continues this week in Part 2, where we will discuss the responsorial psalm and how to select a setting that can be successful for your community.